Amaka was a tall, beautiful young woman of 22. She lived in Lagos with her mother, Ngozi, but every December they traveled to their village in Enugu for Christmas. Amaka loved the green farmlands, the sound of crickets at night, and the smell of roasted yam by the roadside. But this year's journey would bring more than fresh air. It would bring secrets, dark secrets that had slept for years. Ngozi was a strict woman who never talked about her family. Anytime Amaka asked about her father, Ngozi would wave the question away and say, "Focus on your life, my daughter. Not all truths are meant to be known." Those words always left a cold feeling in Amaka's chest. When they arrived in the village, the atmosphere felt different. Women were whispering, children stopped playing when they saw Ngozi, and an old man sitting by the palm wine stand stared at Amaka as if she was a ghost. Amaka noticed, but her mother pretended nothing was wrong. That night, Amaka lay on the bamboo bed in her grandmother's old house. She heard her mother talking in low tones with her grandmother. "We must tell her before it is too late," the old woman said. Ngozi's voice trembled. "Mama, if she knows the truth, she will hate me forever." The next day, a young man named Chike came to greet them. He was tall, handsome, and had eyes that seemed to search Amaka's soul. "Welcome home," he said with a warm smile. But when Chike looked at Ngozi, his smile faded, and he quickly left after a short greeting. Later, Amaka's cousin Ifeoma whispered, "Do you know Chike is your brother?" Amaka almost dropped the basket of tomatoes she was holding. "My what?" she asked in shock. Ifeoma covered her mouth and ran off before she could say more. Amaka was restless. That night, she confronted her mother. "Mummy, who is my father?" Ngozi's face hardened. "You don't need to know. Some truths can kill." Amaka's eyes filled with tears. "Then I will find out myself," she said and stormed out. She went to visit Chike secretly. At first, he refused to talk, but after a long silence, he said, "Your father was a rich man in this village. He had 2 wives. Your mother was the second. But something happened. Something that changed everything." Before Chike could continue, an elderly man came out of the hut and shouted, "Leave my compound now. This matter is not for children." His eyes burned with warning, and Amaka knew she was in danger. The next morning, a strange letter was slipped under their door. It had no name, only a message written in shaky handwriting. "Your father did not die in an accident. He was murdered by someone in this house." Amaka's hands shook as she read it. In the village, whispers grew louder. People pointed at Amaka when she passed. She began to notice shadows following her at night. Someone didn't want her digging into the past. Determined, she went to the old family farmland where her father was buried. There, she met a blind old woman who sold herbs. The woman touched Amaka's hand and said, "Child, your blood carries pain. The killer of your father is close to you, closer than your own shadow." Amaka's heart pounded. "Who is it?" she asked. The woman shook her head. "If I tell you, they will kill me before sunset. Find the truth yourself. But beware, the truth may burn you." Back at the house, Amaka overheard her mother and grandmother arguing again. This time, her grandmother said, "She will soon know that her father was killed by her own uncle." Amaka's mouth went dry. Uncle Kelechi was the one who always brought gifts from the city. Could it be true? When she returned to Lagos after the holidays, Amaka started investigating. She searched her mother's room one night and found an old diary hidden inside a polythene bag. The diary belonged to her late father. In it, he wrote about business troubles, land disputes, and betrayal by his own brother, Kelechi. One entry caught her attention. "If anything happens to me, Ngozi must protect our daughter from Kelechi. He wants my land, my company, and will stop at nothing." Amaka froze. The words were like ice in her veins. Weeks later, Uncle Kelechi visited Lagos. At night, Amaka pretended to sleep in the sitting room. She heard him tell Ngozi, "If this girl finds out the truth, she will destroy us all. Make her stop asking questions or she will join her father in the grave." Amaka knew she was not safe. She called Chike secretly and told him everything. Chike warned her to be careful, saying Kelechi had powerful friends in both the village and city. One rainy night, Amaka was attacked by 2 men on her way home from work. She ran into a crowded shop, screaming for help. The men vanished into the darkness, but she was sure Kelechi sent them. Amaka decided to go back to the village to confront him directly. But when she got there, she found the whole village in shock. Uncle Kelechi was dead.
If we find it, we find the truth. Amaka remembered her father's diary. Maybe it was connected. That night, Chiki and Amaka sneaked into the abandoned family house in the village. The place was silent except for the sound of rats scurrying in the ceiling. They searched every room until Chiki lifted a loose floorboard in her father's old bedroom. Inside was a brown envelope covered in dust. Before they could open it, footsteps echoed from the corridor. A deep voice said, "I see you found it." Chief Okoro stepped out of the shadows, holding a pistol. "Hand it over, and I might let you live." Chiki stepped in front of Amaka. "You killed her father, didn't you?" Chief Okoro smiled coldly. "Your father was stubborn. He refused to sell the land, so he paid the price. Now give me the envelope before you join him." Suddenly, a loud bang shook the air. Chief Okoro fell to the ground, groaning. Standing at the doorway was Inspector Namdi, holding a smoking gun. "You're under arrest," he growled. Chike grabbed Amaka's hand, and they ran out into the night with the envelope. They hid in a safe house in the city, but the danger was not over. 2 nights later, the safe house was attacked. Gunshots shattered the windows. Amaka and Chiki crawled to the back door and escaped into the dark streets. They ran to the nearest police station, but when they got there, Amaka froze. The officer in charge was smiling too much. "You're safe here," he said, locking the door behind them. But the look in his eyes told a different story. Within minutes, more men entered the room. They weren't police officers. The fake officer said, "Hand us the envelope and maybe we won't hurt you." Amaka clutched it tightly and shook her head. That was when one of the men pulled out her mother's necklace and dangled it in front of her. "Looking for this?" Tears filled Amaka's eyes. "Where is she?" The man smirked. "Alive for now, but she won't be if you keep playing games." Her heart broke. She wanted to save her mother, but giving up the envelope meant losing the truth forever. In a moment of courage, Amaka hurled the envelope at Cheek and shouted, "Run!" Cheek smashed through the window and fled with the envelope. The men chased him, leaving only 2 guards with Amaka. She fought them with everything she had, kicking, scratching, and biting, until she broke free. She ran into the crowded market outside, blending with the crowd. Somewhere in the distance, she heard gunshots. Hours later, Chiki called her from a hidden number. "I still have the envelope, but they've taken your mother to an unknown place. We have to make a deal." Amaka agreed to meet him in a remote bus park at midnight. But when she got there, she saw something that froze her blood. Chiki was tied to a chair, and behind him stood her mother, holding a gun. Ngozi's voice was cold. "Amaka, I am the one who killed your father." Amaka's knees weakened. "Why?" Ngozi's eyes filled with both anger and pain. "He was going to expose me too. I was part of the land deal. I couldn't let him ruin everything." The world around Amaka blurred. "So, all this time, you were protecting me from the truth because you were the truth?" Ngozi nodded slowly. "And now, you must choose. Join me or die with him." Before Amaka could speak, sirens wailed in the distance. Inspector Namdi and his team stormed the place. Ngozi tried to run, but Namdi shot her in the leg. She fell, screaming. Chiki was freed, and the envelope was finally in safe hands. Amaka stood under the moonlight, tears streaming down her face. The truth had set her free, but it had also destroyed her family. She knew life would never be the same again. In the distance, the village hills stood quietly, hiding more secrets that might one day rise again. The moral lesson from this story is that family secrets, no matter how deeply buried, have the power to destroy trust, relationships, and even lives when they finally come to light. Truth may be painful, but hiding it only makes the pain worse in the future. It teaches us that honesty and openness are important in keeping a family united. The story also reminds us that appearances can be deceiving. Not everyone who smiles at you has good intentions, and sometimes the greatest dangers come from the people closest to us. It warns against greed, jealousy, and betrayal, showing that these traits can ruin both individuals and entire families. Lastly, it encourages courage. Facing the truth, no matter how scary, is the first step toward healing and building a stronger future. Silence may protect you for a moment, but truth protects you forever.